Hey everybody, this is Mr. Gimpy, and next to me is Chipped Monk, and this is the Combo Wombo podcast. And I just gotta say, man, let's start us off right now, right here.
Get it right.
Chip was playing Hearthstone Battlegrounds right before we started this.
Yeah, dude. I was like, had it going. You're like, oh, I was like, hey man, I just started this Battlegrounds. You're like, can you get out of it? I'm like, I'm kind of dominating, bro. You're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, dude. Like this is. You're like, oh, has this game been going on for a while? I'm like, no, I just like have been eliminating everybody left and right, dude. Just been swinging on these cats, bro.
Yeah. So here's the thing. People sometimes wonder about the behind the scenes, right? It's just like, oh, are you guys like super professional with it? Do you start it off? Do you have a set plan or anything? And the answer is kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. I try. We're professionals. This is a professional organization. You could tell by all the miniatures in the background.
Yes.
All our figurines.
Are those new ones on the back too? Looks like you're working on something else new.
They've been growing. The armies have been.
Okay, you just got more. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing more is getting done, and there's just more showing up.
So I picked up a 3D printer like 2 weeks ago, and actually forgot where I placed it because I got it, but I was like too busy to open the box and everything else.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
You actually have to set it up, right? Like it's not.
They've gotten
just
better.
Plug and play. Yeah,
they've gone from like all building and assembling required on your end, like figure out all the software, to now it's almost plug and play, but you still have to do like some adjustments and calibrations, like when you get one.
That's where I am, and I just haven't done it yet. But looking at your miniatures just made me go, yeah, that's something cool to print. But
do you have a space for the 3D printer?
I threw it where I have my server in the other room, so it's fine. It's just out of the way.
Like a well ventilated area.
Yeah.
I always worry about like whatever melting ABS plastic that they're using. Right. I'm like, I don't know about this.
I figure it's on a bed, so like what's gonna happen?
Yeah. I'm more worried about like a resin, like 3D resin printing for curing and stuff, because like I like the detail you can get like on a resin printer. I was like, dang, if I'm gonna get one, I'm gonna get like a resin printer, especially for like the more detailed oriented like miniatures and stuff that I would be printing out on it.
True.
They're basically free now. Like you can get them under $200, like a decent resin printer. But I'm just like, to me, it's just like ventilation, and like according to like all the spec sheets and stuff, everyone's like, this is probably fine, but there's like no real long-term research. And I'm like, I'm also sure that they're saying it's probably fine if you're like in a garage or an open, well-ventilated area. They don't expect you to be in your living room, like, cranking out, resin. Yeah, in your condo apartment, dude. Like,
right.
You got 300 square feet. Let's see what you can do just in there, hot boxing with the resin fumes, dude.
Yeah.
Grow some gills doing that, dude.
Hell yeah. What made me even buy a 3D printer was the professor. He has one, and some of the shit he's made is awesome and useful.
Well. Just jealousy. Plain old-fashioned jealousy.
Pure jealousy.
Gotta have it. Yeah.
But one of my coworkers, he actually has a side gig where he prints like replacement parts for like retro toys. So they're like G.I. Joe's like battle car or whatever the hell. The original print has a tendency to like break the front left axle. So he just been 3D printing parts, and it's doing very well on a side deal. So I'm like, that's actually cool, and something that I didn't think would be anyone is really doing, right? And now I'm putting him on blast by putting it on the pod, but
he's got a store. You guys give him some business, dude.
Yeah, but
we're international.
The link, but he's like the number one dude on one of those sites. Yeah, he showed me a little bit of it, but I was like, that's actually cool. So then my mind immediately went, I could do something like this, but for me and not help the world. So I'm making Halo chess pieces. That's my first goal. I have a buddy who does like laser etching, so I was gonna have him etch me like a chessboard, and I was gonna make the Halo chess pieces myself. So I think that should be pretty cool. So
yeah. It's a whole project, dude. I feel like that's the most expensive Halo chessboard, but it's probably also not. Dude, chessboards get crazy expensive.
Yeah, yeah. Especially
I'll
get
be
like the
looking at
glass ones. Holy
oh,
shit, dude.
bro, I was looking at like a chessboard. I'm like, oh, this is like $300, and I'm like, you know, you get like a good 3D printer. You're also looking at like $300, so you're like, oh, this is basically like a chessboard plus whatever else I want. It's
Yeah,
basically free. My
true, true.
imagination's the gatekeeper here. The sky's the limit.
Yeah. So
That's
so
why
since
I don't understand. Like everybody I know with a 3D printer basically runs out of things to print after about like 4 to 6 months. They're like, yeah, it just kind of sits in the corner now. I'm like, bro, you literally have a creation machine. You can just make anything you want. You're like, yeah, out of ideas. You're like, really? Like, there's so much stuff on there. You could just like on like Thingiverse or like
yep.
a few other like STL files. If you get into like there's people who do like Patreons and stuff where you give them like $5 a month and they're like have access to like some fantasy or sci-fi or whatever files for 3D printing for miniatures. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's becoming more and more of a thing. It's becoming more accessible too, which is I think huge.
Yeah, I think there's like the two people who types of people who buy 3D printers, right? The people like me who are probably going to use assets from the Thingiverse and never make my own, and then the people who
Yeah,
one make the assets, make the do all the measurements, and then upload the shit. Those
yeah,
people are probably running their 3D printers all the time. Like my coworker, he has 4 3D printers and he's running them all the time. They're
yeah,
always making something. Like for me, I'll make like the Halo stuff. I'll make some video game props and stuff like that. Put them up here. Probably paint some, or more than likely. My wife's really good at painting, so I'll probably have her do it. And if she doesn't want to, I'm just gonna pay somebody. Honestly, like I'm not gonna paint.
yeah.
Like plus being colorblind as well, I'm like I don't trust myself with the painting process. So
I mean, just do it black and white. Just everything in grayscale. Just start painting.
right, but yeah, I actually some of the stuff would look sick, but some things that I would print, I don't want to see it in black and white.
I mean,
Like,
like I feel like for you could just do like a nice white primer, and then like you just get like a nice like a wash. I don't know if you know about like washes, but you do like a black
no, I'm a noob on
like
that.
all right. So like you basically just pour the paint over it. It's like a usually use like dish soap or something. There's people who sell like pre-made washes and stuff too.
Okay.
But that gets in like all the crevices and stuff and makes all the details like pop out on like whatever you're doing. So I think like for you, all you'd have to do is like spray paint prime white, put a black wash over so like all the creases and stuff get like a nice like dark hue to like really show the lines.
Yeah.
And then like what they call dry brushing, where you just like take a brush that's dry and then you lightly brush over the entire thing, like almost like you're excavating a fossil and like trying to get out the
Okay.
details.
Okay.
And then you just like quickly dry brush the outside, and that'll just make the rest of it pop off a bit. And then I would do like another dry brush with white, and then maybe like a gray, and then they would look good. It would look good. It'd probably take you
Pretty
like
good.
10-15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. Because I was thinking like the Halo chess pieces, I would keep like the typical black versus white,
Yeah.
thing, but just have Halo things. Like some people are like, oh yeah, I should do it full color, and I'm like, that would look kind of kitschy, as a
It would
chessboard. It
it'd be
just
tough to tell what's going on too a bit.
yeah, exactly. Like one of the
I,
beauties of chess is you know exactly what's going on at a glance, and I
well,
want to
it
keep
might
that.
make sense. Like, are you doing like complete themes? Like, you have like the
Covenant versus the
yeah,
Marines or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I
So if you
think
did
so.
something like that, you might be able to,
Get away with it.
yeah, like a full color. But like what's the point? Like you said, it'd be kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and truthfully, since I mean, like, I may create my own assets, but I'm gonna be lazy. Just to be completely honest, I'm not trying to impress anyone. Like
Yeah,
if there's assets out there, I'm just gonna grab them, and if I can't
yeah, I'm
find
sure
enough, then
there
I'll
is.
just do the 1-to-1, battles or whatever. So there's been some cool chessboards that I've seen over time in my life that I thought, wow, this is actually really fucking detailed and looks nice. Like I would never want to play chess with this.
Yeah,
There's like
this is a showpiece.
yeah, exactly. There's this really, really super sick Star Wars one that I've seen where all of the characters were super detailed, like Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker looked like Mark. You know what I mean? It's like you get up close, that's straight Mark Hamill. It was insane, and that chess piece was like $200, or the set $200, just
Yeah,
flat. Like that's a lot, but so we'll see, I'll update whenever I get around to it. As you see, I
yeah.
got
For now,
the
it's just the dream in a box in a
yeah.
garage
Yep.
somewhere. You don't even know where the box is. You're like, I
No,
just have
no,
a
no. I
3D
found the
printer
box. I found the
somewhere.
box.
All
It's
right.
actually in the corner right now, just off camera. I just, like I said, I have to set it up and
This
just
sounds
throw it in
like
the other room.
I'm not going to call you out, but it sounds like maybe you're making this up.
What, the
Be like,
3D
no, no, no,
printer?
believe me, I know exactly where it is. It's just right off camera. I can't. You just take my word for
I
it.
will not confirm nor deny, just
Yeah.
for the glory of the pod.
Yeah, you're just like, no, 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 this is fine. I got it. This is. So
Yeah,
what were you
yeah, yeah.
saying a little bit ago? You're pointing in the back. You're like, I got like this Halo.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So my Halo memorabilia is growing a bit. My wife was shopping and she found the Master Chief helmet that's actually a Halloween costume.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. So it's on top of my basement Keurig. So
It looks really good
it's
from on camera. I don't know about like in real life. Like,
in real life it looks good too, truthfully.
okay, okay.
But I think like right where it is, it has like the perfect distance and it's reflecting the light perfectly.
Yeah,
So
dude.
it looks like that
It's
looks
got
pretty
best.
sick.
Yeah, Master Chief Keurig back there, dude.
Yeah, yeah. The Lego set that my daughter and I built a couple weeks ago. My cat just jumped up on something and smashed it into 1,000 pieces, so I have to
Nice.
rebuild. So then I was like, cats, man, cats. But
Yeah, man.
having that was a nice little replacement, and I think it's cool as shit. So
I had to deal with this the other day. Like, I went to go help my mom because we're transitioning to winter here up in the Great North.
yes,
So I did like pull out the AC unit from her window, and when I did that, like she had like a screen for that window, but it was like a new age hippie screen. Like there's nothing in it to get it in or out of the window with. It just has like two metal like
oh, the
antennas.
hooks. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like that. I think like you have to like push the hooks in and then like
Like tilt it right or something.
something. I have no idea because there's no room on the frame to like get my fingers in, and then like it feels like you should be able to like slide it in and then like pull, but my fingers are too big for that. So what I ended up using was like some duct tape, and I made like two little pull tabs on the bottom of the screen so I could like shimmy it up against the top and then pull it in.
Yeah.
So I do all this, and then my mom's like, "Is that in all the way? I got cats that are gonna press up against that window." And I was like, I don't know. So sticking with the Halloween theme, she had like one of those old plastic Halloween jugs there.
Yeah.
And so I just grab it and I throw it against the screen and it just like bounces off. And I was like, all right, that was cool. And then I had like another stuffed animal there and I like threw that at the window. I was like, yeah, this will probably, yeah, this is fine. If the cats like jump at it harder than me throwing like a Kermit the Frog at this thing, dude, then they're going out that window. There's nothing.
Right. That cat's gone. It's the neighborhood cat now.
It's a free cat. They made it out. They escaped.
And the old adage saying, if you have a cat, you're just renting it. Like that cat's yeah.
It's the universe's cat. It's just bumming and crashing on your couch for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Cats are couch surfers. That's all they are.
Yeah, there's like 10 cats in the entire world. They've just been surfing everyone's couches.
Yeah, man. So let's get into little things. Have you been up to anything gaming wise or entertainment wise that you want to share with the pod before we get into the nitty gritty?
No, same old same. I've been playing a ton of Overwatch. I finally took the next steps in Overwatch where I'm like watching the Get Good videos now.
Oh shit, I think that's serious.
Yeah, so nothing very useful for me to climb rank. I have found that Reinhardt works pretty good, but people are so dumb that I found the Reinhardt skin where he's glowing works the best. Because I think you need like a big glowing spotlight to be like, hey, idiots, follow me. I am the tank. We're moving to the objectives. So I think you almost need to be like a giant glowing, like, blue glow stick to it's like hurting like a bunch of something that's attracted to light moths. It's a bunch of moths. Yeah, they're moths to the flame. So that's been going okay. I've been going for ridiculous pins, which I didn't know was already an Overwatch meme. Like people hate that. They're like, damn it, Reinhardt, start charging into the enemy lines.
Yeah.
But I think that's like the best way to play Reinhardt. Like, period.
Hyper aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like do
you think
you're
they
gonna die.
separate it by rank though? So when you get to a certain rank, that playstyle doesn't work and you have to play a more traditional like tank role where you're just protecting your line?
I think it always works if you understand what you're doing. Because basically you're trading your health and shield for time and you're going to die. So you basically, you want to push and hold different positions and be the most value to your team. And I would say the second you see any of their backline out of position, like their healers, and you have a direct clear line of charge on them, go for it. Just take it. Because if you kill like, my whole thing is like, if I can kill like 2 to 3 people with me, then like I've won. Like our
Yeah.
teammates
So that would
should
be
win that.
a well, it's 6v6 in Overwatch, right? So then it would be
Yeah,
5v the 2 or 3 that you have left. So yeah, that works.
yeah. So I'm like, if I can just do that, then I feel like we'll win. If I can, and then also I'm thinking in terms of like alt charges as well. So I'm like, if I can just swing off on 3 people and I get like 2 hits, like that's gonna almost fully charge my alt. So
Yeah,
we might lose that battle, but then I'm coming right back to the next battle with my ultimate up.
yeah.
So like, and like I've been getting better at just pinging and letting my teammates know, like, hey, ultimate's full charge. And then like they tend to also be better at grouping up around you when you let them know that you have an alt up.
So do you think that watching the get good videos, sometimes it's not something that I think you need, but sometimes hearing someone say it, it puts it in your mind a little more. Do you think that helped you, or do you think it's just from playing more and just kind of figuring it out on your own?
I think just from playing more, because I didn't watch these till after I but like already got like pretty comfortable with the character. So
Yeah,
then I was like, all right, maybe there's some other shit I'm not thinking about that could take it up to an even higher level. Like
yeah.
that'll help me climb even way faster. But I
Okay.
think the one thing that they did say, like you said, like that made me think about it more was like stop thinking about like what I can do and like start thinking about like how I can add value to the whole team and like what the win condition is going to be for the entire team battle, not just like for me.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking more because like I was already kind of naturally doing most of that stuff, but I wasn't necessarily thinking about like the rest of the team. And when I started doing that, like I play, I think slightly quote unquote worse stat wise,
Okay.
but I'm more of a value because we're going to still win the game, you know?
That's the thing that I think games like Overwatch don't teach you as a player. Like I think if even like the tutorial, like you usually focus on what to do, like your abilities, things like
Yeah,
that.
mechanically.
With the yeah, but I think it would be amazing if one of these like objective based team games kind of went off going. Sometimes your KDA doesn't mean shit
Yeah.
if you were
If
an
you
asset
lose.
to the
And
team. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that's so I think the people who are really good at games like Overwatch, Team Fortress, things like that, they know that okay, I may have went like 6 and like 40, right? Like I'm using Team Fortress as an example,
Yeah.
but as an engineer, I had my turrets up the entire time. I may have died, but my turrets protected that point, so like no one could ever just go in and bum rush it, right? And
Yeah.
Overwatch, kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm like 6 and 20, and but I've used my alt perfectly every time, and I had like a zillion assists,
Yeah.
So I
Just
think
turning
that's something to
around
be
team
said.
battles. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like if you can win more based on like, like basically it's like, it's a game about like alt management. So you're just managing your alt and like keeping track of like, even like what you're saying, I'm like, if I can bait out like 2 or 3 of the enemy team's alts, then we won.
yeah,
Even if I die, if I charge forward and I die because they use like 2 of their alts on me, that is an absolute victory. Like that is so big. Like you've
yeah.
just made them waste like their 2 biggest assets. So like the rest of your team doesn't have to use any alts and they can just clean up with gunfire. And when they come back, we all have all of our alts up and they're gonna have to wait like another whole turn. So they're gonna lose like 2 to 3 exchanges in a row.
True,
Just
true.
because of bad alt management. So it's like there's things like that, and that doesn't necessarily show up like on stat sheets where it's like,
Yes.
but
I think
yeah,
the
there's
most
that.
annoying part, and I'm typically a person who will play like a DPS role, or I've taken it to being kind of the entry fragger in Valorant at this moment, where if I if I jump in and I
Are you
take
playing
out their
that
best player, right?
character Raz? Is that the one? Is that a
Raise,
character?
raise.
Right.
No. Who I'm playing right now?
They got grenades, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah. They
wrong
could
about that.
like
You
rocket jump
kids
and
with
stuff.
your Valorant.
um,
Yeah, like that character seems really cool for like kind of
just
like what
entries
you're
and
saying.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
what I've been doing
for
is
fragging.
I play Phoenix and Omen mostly. I've started to mess around with Reyna. Omen has a smoke that lasts forever.
All
Like
right,
it's
yeah.
so effective. And then one of his other move is he'll blind people as well, including taking out their audio. So he's like they're like deaf
Okay.
and blind at one moment. So if you hit people with this, you can just walk up in front of them and just take them out.
You
I'm
are
really liking
Batman.
Omen. Um, I'm really liking Omen for that. I play Phoenix, of course, who has like 2 lives basically with his ult. And he has
Yeah.
these nice flashes that are pretty effective.
You gotten
Uh,
off that alt.
Yeah.
Feels good, right?
Good times. Yeah,
I've only
definitely.
played them like once or twice, and I got it all off, and I'm like, nice.
Yeah. So it's been good, and then so I think with stuff like that with Valorant, I'm finding either like with just the group I play with, right? Like everyone kind of
Yep.
has their role that they naturally go to, and if someone's playing off role, like they're having a bad time and it's hurting the team. I pride myself in being able to slot into almost anywhere,
Yeah.
and like our mutual friend Intoxicated Fable plays with us. He's the one who's played Valorant most than anyone else. We used to play CS Counter Strike together, even way back in Source. Was when I met
Yeah.
him when Source was popular.
I
So
remember him bringing his whole computer over to your living room to
yeah,
play Counter Strike.
yeah.
And it was just him, bro.
It was just him. Yeah,
He wasn't even invited.
Yeah.
He just showed up. He's like, "What's up, guys?" Like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna play some Counter Strike." We're like, "All right."
Yeah. So in Counter Strike, I was basically a rifler, who I could entry frag, but one of our other buddies would kind of be the the entry fragger just by spotting. He was more of like the lookout, right? He would spot. He goes, okay, there's 3 people on site. They're here, and I'd go out and take those shots, right? So I'd be the second one in typically, um, and that worked for Counter Strike. And Fable was always a lurker. He would lurk
All right.
across the map and just try and pick people off.
Yeah,
That's
just taking
his
out the
role.
flank and spank.
Exactly. That's his role. That's what he naturally assigned to, and it worked in CS because I could slide in anywhere. Learning Valorant, uh, uh, I realized I was trying to do the rifler kind of role, which Valorant moves the goalpost on what these roles are called. Um, and like duelists are kind of like the ones that will go in and they're meant to one-on-one fights, right? Um, it works, but I find that I've been more effective for the team if I play like a control character like Omen. So I have like these giant meaty smokes that block an area, and the whole team can get on point, and another person has to like go through the smoke or like blindly shoot
Yeah.
through it to even try and get us. Right? It gives us more of an
Have you
opportunity to win. Yeah.
have you watched any like get good videos on this to like for like best smoke placement and stuff at all? Have you looked into it?
No, I haven't.
Really? You just figuring it out, huh?
I so it's
No
not.
hot tips and tricks.
I don't think it's hubris. I think it's more of how I learn. Right? I learn by
Yeah.
doing, and
Yeah. Like I said, like I played like a ton of like Reinhardt just like off stream because our mutual friend was like, "You should probably get better." And I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right." So I've been practicing like a bit more, just like I think there's like different like too. I don't know like if you do this where it's like more meaningful practice where it's like, oh, I need to work on like taking angles and charging. So like I will just practice just that an entire game. Or I'm like, I need to work on like strategic positioning. So I'll just focus just that for an entire game.
For me, since Valorant's kind of like CS, right? Like
Yep.
uh, recoil control is one, and I think with how Valorant works on the peeker's advantage kind of a thing. Learning how that works and getting the
It's
CS
huge.
muscle memory out of my head was huge. So one game I was just doing a bunch of spike rushes, which are like the very condensed version of like the main game, and I was just focused on outgunning people at corners, like giving myself the advantage every time. So I think that it has shown in game. The only problem right now is when I stream it in game, and I don't know if you're in the last one.
I think for a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, like two streams ago, we won out. We were nuts. We
Just
killed
dominating.
it. And when I didn't focus on my own KD, like I was like second or third on the team, right? Like I realized that I don't have to be first if we're winning out, you know? Like
Yeah.
Counter-Strike, I had the thought of
Team.
I always have to be first for us to win. And it's because I had like the most experience with Counter-Strike, right? With Valorant, I realized like Fable has the most experience, and I'd rather win than be top dog. So I will sacrifice myself.
You could
and
do
pick two or
both,
three
but
yeah, right. But you know, I mean, it makes the people around me better if they have more opportunities to fight. Because in Counter Strike, I would kill most of the other team, and then so my other buddies only have one guy to shoot collectively, right?
Yeah, so like it becomes a 4v1.
Yeah, you don't get better if you don't fight. So Valorant, everyone's fighting now, and
like you said, you have like the strategic smokes and stuff as well, where you're
yes,
blinding
so
people
I've been
and stuff,
funneling people and things, and and it's been really good.
Yeah, like you put yourself in like the position to make like those point calls and like
yes,
really allow the rest of your team to shine.
yeah. So I've become kind of like the like an in-game leader, you know,
Yeah,
and for the most part an entry fragger, depending on the character. But it's been working, and I think that that's kind of my other buddies are kind of blossoming into roles too. I know where everyone is. I haven't mentioned it to them yet, but I've been kind of gaslighting them into playing these roles, and it's been working. So we'll see the next couple of streams if my theory is correct. So I'm excited,
yeah.
man. I've been having fun with Valorant again. It hasn't been super frustrating. And I think the last stream we were in, it was probably one of the most animated ones because we were winning out and everyone was super hype. It was the
Yeah, dude.
best.
When's
So yeah, it's
the
been
next
fun.
stream, bro? When's the are you doing
Monday,
it?
Monday. I'll be
Oh,
doing it.
that's tomorrow
So
for
yep,
us.
yeah,
It's
tomorrow
coming
for
up.
us. Yeah, yeah. So well, it'll be good. It'll be good. We'll see.
Nice. Yeah, like you just asked like a while ago about like if any of those like tips and tricks actually helped. And I was like, no, not really. And then like you're talking about like peeking around corners. I was like, oh shit, that was one that I did learn where for Reinhardt, like he has like a wind up on like his melee attack with his hammer, his jet hammer, and like you can wind that up and then like peek around a corner, so like you just instantly like whack down. Or you can like use it to like work a corner where like you constantly get a free hit and then like you're back before like they can
Yeah,
even shoot at you.
nice,
So I've
nice.
been like using that more.
Yeah, yeah. So there's some things that you may have been subconsciously doing it, but then someone mentions it, and then you're like, it's in your head now.
Yeah, and
You
like
know?
now I'm actively doing it. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
helps.
So then there's the other thing. I watched the new Halloween the other night.
Oh,
I hated it. I absolutely
okay.
hated it. Um, like I'm a big horror guy, and this one
We all know you're a big horror guy.
it didn't know it felt like the writers had no idea who Michael Myers is as a
Yeah,
character.
I feel like that's what big studios do now. They're like, we have another story, but like let's marry it to an IP that we also own, so people will go see it.
Well, because the writing team and the producing team specifically wrote a Halloween movie without having the rights, and then they
Yeah,
like went and begged to do it. So then the last one that came out was just titled Halloween, and it actually did very well, and I thought it was okay. I thought there was some
yeah,
good legs to it. This one, they basically turned Michael Myers into a Jason Voorhees clone, which people are all like, aren't they the same thing? No, the
no,
Halloween movies were more um they're just better made movies than the other. Like I love slasher movies, but I go into each one expecting something a little different. Like Friday the 13th series, I expect a bunch of cool kills, really crappy acting, really just crap story, right? And
yeah.
that's
It's a bit
fine. That's
cheesy.
fine. I go there to eat popcorn and have a good time. Halloween, I expect good filmmaking, really good score. A killer who is interesting to watch, not because the kills are cool, but because of his methods of stalking and things like that.
Yeah,
This
the
one,
tension.
there's a scene in the new Halloween where Michael Myers comes out of a house on fire, just fucking breathing hard, shoulders moving. That's Jason Voorhees staple from Kane Hodder playing him,
Yeah,
and just looking like a badass. And other people around were like, "Oh man, he looks so cool." No, that's not who Michael is. He's not meant to look cool. I was so
yeah.
fucking mad.
He's the
The
guy who
story,
like the fire burns out and everyone's like, oh, I think he's dead finally.
and he's fucking gone.
Yeah, yeah. They look around, they're like, we didn't find any bodies,
And
and
then
you're like,
they
oh
just
no.
some of the kills are just fucking action set pieces, and it betrayed what Halloween, has typically been about.
I
I'll
mean,
see
there's
the
so
next
many
one. I'm just
Halloween movies though, right? There's like 12 of those now.
yeah.
So I
Still,
don't know. It's not like any.
still,
It's kind of like Final Destination, where like by the end of that series, like they basically became like a comedy reel, like the way people die in that movie, where it's so over the top and so ridiculous. There's like if you just like go into that movie with the right mindset, like you're just laughing at it. Like it's like basically a nonstop like slapstick death reel, dude. Where it's like just so over the top.
the series leads into it too, though.
Yeah,
It's definitely the
like
Rube
towards the end, like I
Goldberg
said,
of
like the
some,
first the
yeah,
first few you're like, oh, this is kind of crazy, like it seems like they're messing with powers they can't comprehend, the power of destiny. But by
yeah.
the end is like destiny becomes like a slapstick comedy murder machine.
True.
Like you're like there's like no way this person's gonna die, like And then like this Rube Goldberg has to like the chair snaps down. They go flying down a flight of stairs. A chandelier drops down, misses them completely. But then like a cabinet slides open and a knife rolls over and like decapitates somebody. You're like, what the fuck? What did I just watch?
See that leaned into it, and I expected that, right? So I'm okay. But
yeah,
like Halloween just disappointed me. Like I said, I'll see the next one, but there's zero hope for
I feel
it.
like Saw also has become. They've actually maintained like the quality bar, I would say, where it's like
there's definitely some stinkers in there, but for the most
yeah,
part, it's a solid series.
it's a more solid series where they didn't like go campy with it.
Yeah,
They're like they could have been like, oh, this is what we have. Like we're the only thing that's kind of campy and ridiculous is like how Saw's like still like has traps and videos and stuff. They're like, did you die like 8 years ago? He's like, yes, but I planned this all out.
They're doing weird stuff with the Jigsaw character. He became a myth. Have you seen Spiral with Chris
No.
Rock? It's like the new like Saw series. Chris Rock actually bought the rights to Saw
Good on him.
and made his own because he wanted to be in a horror movie. So I was like, comedy actors in horror always works because they know how to make you laugh, so they know how to toy with your emotions already.
Yeah,
so
they know how to like ease and build tension and
yeah. So I thought Chris Rock was phenomenal in that, and while Spiral wasn't like the best movie, it was a good watch.
Have you seen Meet the Blacks?
Yeah.
It's Mike Epps and Cat Williams.
Yes.
They have a part 2. Did you see that one yet?
No.
I want to see that, dude. I haven't seen either one. And like those are also like a horror film, isn't it? Like it's a comedy horror
film. It's
like
a comedy horror. Yeah.
But like I don't know, it's kind of the same idea where I hear good things about it and like I've been meaning to watch it. But I'm just like,
yeah.
I feel like it's like one of those movies you want to watch with like a bunch of friends. Like I know a bunch of people who like really love Mike Epps, the comedian.
Sure.
Cat Williams, all right,
Yeah.
I was watching an interview with that guy the other day. He's really smart.
Most comedians are. Honestly, the comedians that have longevity, they're usually like borderline geniuses, truthfully.
Yeah. And everyone was like, I thought he was like a crazy crackhead. I was like, nah, I think like
that's his act.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I made that point though, where I was like, if you put yourself out there as an artist and you portray like a cracked out pimp who's like, don't be shocked when everyone instantly believes that you're on drugs, like in your personal life, even if you're not. It's like you really took a bold risk as an artist, and like people are always going to associate you with that character for good or bad.
True.
It's kind of like if like Larry the Cable Guy came out and started trying to do like a completely different act. And people would be like, "Come on, bro, you're Larry the Cable Guy now. Like it is what it is, bro."
Right.
But he's not really that guy. He's just putting on a character. Like
exactly. So the reason I bring up like the horror that I just watched and things like that is it made me think about something on the gaming sense, and it's something that I'm working on, and it's something that I think you dealt with too. And yes, it took us a bit to get to the topic at hand today. But we haven't talked in like a week, so
yeah, man, we gotta catch up, dude.
Exactly. But
this is it. This is just a couple bros talking about the movies and the games.
Yes,
and
sir.
Just chilling.
So
I wasn't going there. I just kind of tapered off. I was like, it's just us doing our. I had no point there. I was just
right
stating facts, dude. Water's wet.
Exactly. So something that I've noticed is slowly being just left in the dust in gaming. Final bosses. So a lot of the tactical shooters, the milsim shooters, things like that, they go for final set piece versus final boss. And these large open world games like Red Dead Redemption, for example, kind of does a blend of both. Like it's a final set piece, it's a final story arc, and then there's like a final boss fight that is what you've been doing for the entire game. So it doesn't really constitute like a normal super boss at the end. It's more like you're overcoming something in the story, and it's the same like kind of type of fight as you've had the entire game. And I gotta say, since I'm working on a game where one of my goals is to have like a few boss fights that are memorable, I'm like, am I a dinosaur in this? Should I be doing like a set piece? And then I'm like, no, it's the children who are wrong. It's like, it's not me.
The children.
So
so you come down on the side of that. You need boss fights in order to like chunk off and like build narratively, like tie in everything.
So I think I come from the mindset of of you leave them satisfied, right? You
Yeah.
build up to a nice crescendo. You get to something that they've never seen before, a balls to the wall thing. They're sweating, and then you have that come down. After you beat a boss. And I come from like some of my favorite games are shmups, right? So
Yeah.
like final bosses in that are usually they're fucking just horrible to deal with. But when you
It's a
do,
bullet
the
hell.
the adrenaline's like flushes from you. You have this sense of calm and this sense of accomplishment. That's what I want. Not to say like the final boss fights I'm working on are or the boss fights I'm working on are going to be that level of difficult, but
They're gonna
I
be
want
there.
I want you're the
The
player's mood
satisfaction.
to go up, and I want true satisfaction when you beat the boss. I think like Dark Souls does a very very good job at that.
Yeah.
Not every Dark Souls boss is balls to the wall hard, but when you get to that boss and you're like working on it for hours and you beat it, like you get that adrenaline flush, right? So
Hmm.
that's what I search for, and I think the final set pieces, you're more sitting in awe, but there's no like adrenaline response. And I think that's the difference that I like as a gamer, but also as a creator. And I'm curious your thoughts on this.
I feel final set pieces tend to be more about driving home a story beat, whereas final bosses tend to be like almost like a bookmark to a chapter. You know, uh, so I feel like final bosses will give you like more satisfactory personally. Like you're more satisfied by beating a final boss than like completing like a final bit of like set piece. Like I think like is I think the Forced Unleashed game where like the final part of that game is like you have to fight like a bunch of like spaceships from like inside of another spaceship where you have to run from piece to piece and like you're gunning
Yep.
down like an X-wing and then like it comes down and like you have like a little lightsaber battle there. But you also have to like it has like quick time events and stuff. The game didn't know what it wanted to do at the very end. It kind of fumbled a bit, but it was trying to build like a big set piece and it didn't really quite do that right, and it didn't quite do the final boss fight
Sure.
right because like it was like oh you have to complete like this final bit of like complex like quick time event, and now the final boss isn't really as difficult as completing like a series of random button prompts that
Yeah.
we gave you. So it's like you do things like from a game creator perspective to try and build up towards a satisfactory conclusion, and like that's kind of like an example of when you can misfire on both, where it's like they didn't really decide what they wanted. Like it would have been a nice final set piece. It's like after that spaceship goes down, you fade to black, you tell like your end story, or you just have like the spaceship, your X-wing, your TIE fighter come down and they're like your lightsaber battling at the very end, and
Yeah.
that's it. You have a good satisfying boss fight. uh,
Yeah.
so
What's
set
that?
pieces are like I would say harder to pull off, like
I'd agree
from
with
a
that.
like it's you're really trying to finish up narratively uh, what you've been building towards an entire game without like the satisfaction for the gamer of like beating the brakes off somebody.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's like something about like a good game loop of when you get to like I don't know, like Mega Man's kind of like one of the classic examples you can think of where like every section has a boss, and then like when you beat them you get the reward of like their power. So now you have like different power-ups throughout the whole thing. So games that do good are like God of War has also had like a lot of really great boss fights that have set pieces in them,
Yes.
and like
Yes. They
they've
blend them
tied
very well.
together. Yeah, they do it extremely well, the best in the business at doing that. So it seems like games that kind of start with stuff like that, like Call of Duty, no longer really do that anymore. Of like a set piece plus a boss fight, where now that's just like no, you just run through like these scenarios, and like you get to a cutscene, and the cutscene's kind of the reward. The cutscene's the new boss fight, the unskippable cutscene. That's your new boss fight that you have to overcome as a
Yeah.
gamer.
I would say that one of the series that keeps being mentioned on our pod now just because of my love for it, the Halo series, they've dabbled in both, and
Yeah,
honestly for them set pieces are more effective. So
yeah,
at the end of the first Halo, you are driving your warthog through it's the level's called the Maw, and you're on the Pillar of Autumn, which is the ship you started the game on. You're exploding that to destroy the Halo ring, and you are literally driving through it on a warthog as it's exploding around you. It is, it for its time, it was like one of the most like adrenaline filled moments, and everything's exploding around you. The controller's vibrating, and I just hit my mic. The controller's vibrating just uncontrollably as you're going through. It was amazing, and the
Yeah.
warthog could, doesn't control super well, so like you would flip half the time, and it was a good time. Halo 2, um, you fight Tartarus, which is a like brute boss, and it was slow. Wasn't very fun. Um, it just didn't work. And then Halo 3, they brought back the bigger set pieces with the giant ring that, or planet that's destroying thing, which honestly was cool, but felt like they were just trying to recreate what was good in Halo 1. And Reach actually has one of my favorite spins on the boss fight. So holy shit, I don't even have to say spoilers because everyone knows that what happens on Reach, right?
I
But
don't know, man.
but
Spoilers for
the
Halo.
end
Like,
the end of Reach, you are trying to get the Cortana AI to Captain Keys to start the Halo franchise off,
what's
right?
with everyone's boner for fucking Cortana, bro?
Yeah, it's just she's the you know Deus Ex Machina of the game, right? She could solve
Right.
anything, like
But
so.
like it feels like everybody I talk to who like is a real person doesn't give a F about her. Doesn't give an S, bro, an S or an F about her. So I don't understand. Like it seems like the people who care the most are like the people who created the Halo series. They're like, oh, we gotta make it more about Cortana. It's been weird. And then they're like, stop sexualizing Cortana. And we're like, who is the you guys are on the weird part of the internet, boys.
Well, I mean, she as an AI, she had the figure of a woman, right? And then they've given her more defined features as the series went on. So, I mean, sure, yeah, I it didn't do anything for me, but whatever, man. It
I
sells
think
sells
it's them,
copies.
dude. I think they're like making the game for like a year and they're just staring at him and they're like, we gotta cut this out. Cut it out, you guys. Stop sexualizing her. The one's like they've been locked up too long with their own creation, dude.
Right. But so at the end of Reach, you are in they put you in an unwinnable fight. So you are like surrounded by a covenant, and you're fighting as much as possible until it fades to black, or you just die. And that's the end of the
Yeah.
game because no one survives on Reach, And I thought that was super effective. So they had like a set piece that you had like a kind of final boss fight where it's just you versus a mob of enemies in an unwinnable
Yeah.
scenario that worked from a narrative standpoint and was super badass and memorable. So
Do you
I
feel
think that
almost cheated that you can't win that scenario no matter what? Like,
no, I thought it was effective narratively.
all
It was
right.
more effective narratively, where even if I was, the god of the game, it still worked for me, and I accepted it. So it didn't feel cheated because maybe it's because I also knew the story of Reach itself, like everyone
Yeah.
did, that there's no survivors, and the fact that you were in there, you're experiencing it, was very effective. So I think that games can do it, but it's not really black or white now. And the games that are successful in the FPS, and I think we've mentioned like FPSs for the most part, right? Because shooters
Yeah,
used
man.
you used to not be able to finish a shooter game without some sort of boss fight at the end, because that was what the industry standard was. And maybe it's an evolution where you don't need a boss fight in shooters. Like Doom famously had
Like checkpoints, the
you,
elevator for the OG.
you had the spider boss in Doom, the original Doom, or the Hell Knights, if depending on what episode you completed, but it was
Yeah, sawed off shotgun.
it was the spider mind that was the boss in Doom 1. And then Doom Eternal has like a full on like main boss fight
Yeah.
that worked, and I think that it just has to match narratively, and I think you're right. And I think shooters right now are mostly military sims that aren't fantastical. And I think when you have a fantastical style of shooter, that lends itself to a boss fight more than like a Call of Duty or something,
I
where
would
it's a
almost say
semi
it also
realism.
goes into budget as well.
Mm,
Like if you can't create like a good final set piece, like that's a lot of assets, it's a lot of time. It takes, a lot of back end artistry to construct a good final set piece. Whereas
yeah,
like a good final boss fight, like that's just good core game mechanics, like all around. Like you have to really understand what the player understands at that point in the game, and then tailor a boss to use what the player should have used in that whole level. If you go to the Mega Man example, it's like, the rock
Yes,
being
yes,
paper and scissors and stuff. Like there's certain things you should have done over and over again repeatedly through the level that will come up in a motif that the boss does, and like you're using the exact same type of pattern to defeat them that you use to defeat the level.
yeah.
But it doesn't really tell you that anywhere. You just
So you
like,
hit you hit that right on the head, and this is when boss fights are memorable. Um, Final boss fights typically are a test, your final test to see if you mastered the game.
yeah,
The ones that work well are ones that let you use a lot of what you learned in it. Mega Man is a fantastic example, especially like if you take like the X series, right? Like
yeah,
because you have so much exploration you can do to have like all of the armor pieces and stuff, the dash,
yeah, man.
perfecting your dashes and things like that, knowing what weapon does what. Is just it was like mechanically and knowledge wise, Mega Man tests both when you're fighting. Mega Man X tests both when you're fighting Sigma, and so does the first one. But I think X kind of did a better job of conveying it in like a story form. Um,
Can we
I
just
think
say
that's
that
it.
Mega Man gets weird as a
Yeah,
series?
yeah,
Like everybody dies, like all the humanity dies,
yeah,
like
yeah. That's
Sigma wins or whatever with this virus to
or it's
kill all
from
people.
03 or whatever.
Yeah.
That I think that became an alternate timeline now, but
Come on. They don't know what they're doing with the Mega Man universe. There's too much nonsense going on in that. Uh, of a simpler time with a
yeah.
fighting robot killing other robots.
Yeah. So now let me ask you this: Do Are there any games that where you thought their final boss fight was weak and they should have just ended it that you can think of?
Look out the top of my head. Oh man, it's gonna take me a moment. Uh, man, there's certain.
I'll give you a second because I have one that I'll
All
pull
right,
out.
no,
But
go ahead, man.
it's like a it's like a weird double edged sword right now. General Ram from the first Gears. I thought his boss fight was super weak, but I loved him as a character.
Yeah,
You know,
he's just like on the train chilling.
yeah, yeah. And yes, it did the thing where you had to learn the mechanics of like cover shooting and stuff like that to fight him, but I was mostly stationary and I didn't feel like I really had to do anything except just pump him full of lead. If they
Especially
had,
if you're doing a co-op run through, dude. Like, it's
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Like,
Like General Ram is fucking awesome and he's like one of my favorite characters from Gears. It's him and Ty. Are my two favorite characters in Gears, and like Ty was a badass because he just kept surviving, but he he kept murdering everyone. So when Ty finally kicked the bucket, I was like, oh shit!
yeah,
So like stakes were raised because this unkillable character finally died, and that's how I felt about General Ram too. Because every time he showed up, he was fucking cleaning house. So then when he was like stuck on a train and I was pumping him full of lead, it was so anticlimactic.
I will
So
say the exact same thing happens for RPGs. Like, where you can be over leveled and then like you have to fight like this like boss that they've been building towards for like whatever part of the story arc you're on. And then
yeah,
like you just like run up and like destroy. It's like extremely anticlimactic where it's like uh you'll be in like some sort of scenario where they're like, oh, you can't use magic on this like dungeon, and then like you get to the boss and like you can use magic there and you like one shot him or something ridiculous.
yeah.
Like I mean, there's also like weird exploits in old RPGs too, where it's like, you cast like cure on an undead character and like it does like max damage to him.
I mean,
Or, like
that
you
was
get
by
revived.
design, though. That was by design.
Yeah, yeah, it's by design, but uh,
You thought it was
the
cheap.
more open your design is, the harder it is to design a good boss fight.
Gotcha. I will
And I
say,
would say like also for levels too, when you have uh, parameters that are outside of your control as a game designer, it becomes extremely hard to balance a boss fight because like you don't know what the person's going to have. Like if you look at like Metroidvania-esque games as well, there'll be times where like you get like a rocket launcher or something before you're supposed to, and then like you just like two shot the boss that's like supposed to like be super difficult, and then like you don't even realize it. Like I
I would
think that's
argue
the
that's part
thing.
of the game, though. Like, love Metroidvania is that you found it. Like the point of Metroidvania isn't the boss fights; it's you finding things.
Yeah, it's the
So
discovery.
I think that's your reward for finding something.
Yeah,
Personally, Go ahead, but I get both sides of it. But I think that like discovery is more of
Yeah.
the drip than fighting the boss.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like the more things that are outside of your control as the game designer for what the player has, like levels, items, uh, the harder it's going to be to build a good boss fight. So, like you said, there's different ways to get satisfaction. Like when playing like games, like for some people, like I enjoy like grinding, like in RPGs, where like I enjoy having like overpowered high level characters and then just going in and wiping the floor with like the story mode heroes. Like the story mode's the least fun to me, whereas like I really enjoy just like the grind. And, like they don't really make a ton of games like that anymore. It's like they're mostly Japanese like RPGs, like the D
Yeah.
Sega series, like where it's like it's just built for people who have summer vacations and a lot of free time. Like they're like, oh, you have nothing to do but grind out to level 999, right? And I'm like, yeah, all right.
Gotcha,
So,
gotcha. I
so yeah, but like the core design though isn't around the boss fights. It's around like uh the core mechanic of grinding. Like the Metroidvanias are about discovery, right? So I think it's like understanding like your core mechanics and then not worrying about like having the most balanced boss fights, right?
yeah.
Because like you don't want it to be less fun for the people or like actively punish them for outplaying
Oh,
the
playing what you said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you want to reward high level play, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to make this 10 times more difficult because like you thought to go do the basic thing. It's like, it's kind of a jerk move, but yeah.
I think each genre has their own difficulties in determining final boss versus set piece. Turn-based RPGs, you can have a set piece, but at some point, like you should have that. It shouldn't be like running off of a level when your whole game was like back and
Yeah.
forth.
Like
I
the
think
Final
that.
Fantasy remake had like a ridiculous end set piece for their final boss.
Oh, it was insane. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that worked, but that worked with the gameplay. I think
Yep.
turn based. Some developers suffer with how to make a turn based final boss, but I always look at like Chrono Trigger as one of my favorite turn based final bosses of all time. With when you're fighting Lavos, and the game like you're set. It does both, right? Like you're doing whatever you did the entire game to get to that point, but the set piece around the final boss of Lavos changes. Like
Yeah.
he cracks from his cocoon. He
Whatever
comes out.
epoch you fight him in.
Yes, he comes out, and then the screen changes, the music kicks in, and that is probably the only RPG I've ever played where it gave me the adrenaline rush that of something like a final boss of a platformer, a final boss of like like a fighter or something. Like Chrono Trigger did a fantastic job of doing that.
It also does like that weird thing of like you can just go fight that boss. Like he's just like out there
Yes,
on the map.
it's the
And
only
then
game
like
that did it successfully. I would
yeah.
add.
And then you're just like, oh, like I think like a lot of people will go up to him like the first time playing and be like, oh, there's no way they're gonna let me fight this guy, right? And then like you go and you get your ass beat by him, and
Yep,
it is what
yep,
it is.
yep.
They
Exactly.
teach you the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So, dude, let me ask you this. Having talked about this, can you talk a little bit about generic quest? What you have planned? Do you think that
I
when we brought this up, do you think you'll do set piece or do you think you'll do final boss?
already have basically the final boss done. Like set piece wise, uh like I said before, it's kind of like a lot of artistic assets and stuff. So I kind of built like a platform and stuff up to them where like it kind of builds towards something cool. But then like you get there and it's just like a room
Sure,
situation.
sure.
But like I think I'm just gonna work on more like timing and like having tells where like shows where like the abilities are gonna hit and stuff. So uh it's just gonna lend itself more to like open skill play, but it's just gonna be like a out and out boss fight and hopefully about using like the block dodge mechanic that I've
Got
like
it.
set up before. But yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough to like sit down and just make the time to do it at this point. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
pretty lazy.
That's yeah. That's something I
My
wanted
whole
to touch
Saturday
in.
got wasted the other day.
Really? Yeah.
Oh man.
I just wanted to touch on that on game dev in general because people will go, "How come this game isn't off yet? Isn't out yet?" And especially if you're talking about indie games, making a final boss is hard. Ending your game is very hard.
Yeah.
So it's as we said multiple times on this pod, the final 10% of your game is you'll take as much time as the first 90%. Like
Yeah,
it's difficult, and those who just end it, like I feel they leave a lot on the table. So
maybe I should just end it, dude. I could just have it go to a black screen and be like the end. That's what I was originally gonna do. I was
yeah,
just like, or just gonna put like a to be continued screen and be like, oh, this is done.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't do that though. I was like, all right, I gotta finish this thing. But I
It
did have the
happens, man.
thought, bro. I did have it. I was like, it'd be so easy just to put an ending here.
Gotcha, gotcha. So back to my question before we end here, um, of what game had a final boss that you didn't think needed it. You'd rather him do a set piece, or vice versa. What had a set piece that you would rather have him do as final boss?
Man, I don't know. I haven't really played a lot of narrative driven games in a while, man. Like it's been
Okay.
like I don't know. You already kind of touched on Gears.
Yeah.
Like I've mostly been playing just like all these battle royales, like Apex
Okay.
Legends. I feel
Okay.
like they could use like boss fights.
That'd actually be cool in like one of those battle
I
royales
think
that are
they
coming out
tried it for a little bit.
where it's like PVE mixed with PvP. Like if they had like a
Yeah,
boss in the middle of the map would be kind of cool, but then how do you scale that and stuff? I get it from both gameplay standpoints, but like it would betray any of the BRs that are out right now if you just throw in PVE stuff in. So it'd have to
yeah,
either
you
be
could
like,
do it. Like I don't know. It's it's tough, and like even like the newer Call of Duty and stuff. I played that like Black Ops. I know there's an even newer one now.
the
Uh,
Vanguard's coming out soon. Yeah,
yeah, but I didn't even play solo like game. I know they have like a story mode there. I didn't play it at all. Like I played like the death match and like their
yeah.
battle royale mode. I didn't even bother with the story. And I hear like they're okay, like the Call of Duty
Cold
stories.
War was actually pretty fun, honestly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's a
like the
set
story
piece
modes and
game,
stuff
but
are they
yeah,
do a good job. So it turns out. There's a reason.
yeah. That's the reason
uh
those games sell for sure. All
yeah.
right, man. Well, shit. That's our time, dude.
That's
Um,
it, boys.
I
Yeah.
think
Sorry I couldn't think of anything,
no,
everybody,
that's all
but
right, man. I think
like I
we
said, I've been playing more multiplayer games, so it's just hard to think of anything off the top of the old
yeah
dome.
yeah. I think we kind of touched on what the differences in ending games too. You know, if you guys have any favorite either final sequences or final boss fights, pop them in the comments below. If you're looking at the
Pop them.
YouTube, if you are listening to us, then enjoy our sultry voices and
Yeah, shout out to Costa Rica. Shout out to Puerto Rico. We're doing
exactly.
big things out there, boys and girls.
Big things, big things. So grab 20,000 of your friends, tell them about us, and I am Mr. Gimpy. It's
Chipped them
Chipmunk over
up.
there. You guys have a great day. Like, share, subscribe. Throw some ninja stars at us.
Goodbye.
Take care, everybody. We
Yeet.
out.
Goodbye.